Hello, this is Domenico with Easynomics, and this is part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I believe it's the 5th video in this series where we're using tariffs. We're calculating surface areas of consumer and producer surplus, government revenue, in the context of a paper 3 type of exam. There'll be a link to 2 main playlists where you can find this video. You can also search for it. You can search for it using this icon. One playlist is dedicated towards global economy, the different types of trade protection. We go over tariffs, production and export subsidies, quotas. There's a dedicated playlist for paper 2, paper 3 quantitative type questions. You'll find that there. So this video is going to be focused on answering the last question in this paper 3 type of exam, which is question D that we see here. And this question is going to focus on calculating the change in social surplus. In the previous video, we went over calculating the government tax revenue collected, the tariff revenue collected. So I'm going to get rid of those workings. And let's tackle this last question. Okay, so in this context of Turkey in 2023, imposing a 140% import tariff on wheat, it's raised the price from 200 to 480. It's increased domestic production, reduced domestic consumption, created government tariff revenue. And in this question, it says calculate the change. Calculate the change in social surplus due to the imposition of the import tariff. That can mean that we're just going to focus on calculating the welfare loss. That's one way we can calculate this, and that's going to be the focus of this video. There'll be a link to the very last video where we can see that there's an alternative answer that would be accepted by the IB. But let's just focus on first calculating the welfare losses. So calculate the change in social surplus. You can just interpret that as calculating the welfare loss that's being generated. And that welfare loss is these triangular areas that are right here. There's one. It's not drawn greatly. Let's see if I can use a different color to really emphasize that. Going along the supply curve, down, right, that area there. And it's also including this triangular area here. Okay, so we're going to calculate the surface area of these two triangles. I'll call them triangle A and triangle B. That is the welfare loss that's generated. The welfare loss of A is having inefficient domestic producers increasing production due to the trade protection of a tariff. There are other farmers, wheat farmers around the world that are more productively efficient than Turkish farmers in this case, so that allocation of resources to Turkish farmers to increase production when they're productively inefficient would be considered a welfare loss. And we also have a welfare loss here from the reduced domestic consumption. Consumers should be consuming at the world price of $200, but they're being forced to consume at the higher price of $480. So we've lost the opportunity of consumers to consume at that lower price. So welfare loss B represents that. Okay, so for this question, we're going to be calculating the surface area of these two triangles. So here, let's do this. Let's see welfare loss of triangle A, all right, and then we'll figure out welfare loss of triangle B. So welfare loss of triangle A, essentially it has this shape as we can see here. Here's the triangle. And to calculate the surface area of a triangle is the height times the base divided by 2. All right, so we got to plug that into a formula of A times B divided by 2. Simple enough. You can pause the video and calculate the welfare losses of A and B, and then you can compare your workings with mine. Please pause the video now. Okay, so let's go ahead and figure this out. So A, the height of A in this case, that height is equal to 480 minus 200. There's that height there. So we're going to do 480 minus 200, that equals 280. So there we have the height. Perfect. Let's figure out the base of B. B is going to equal 14.8 million minus 2 million. There's that base right here. All right, to emphasize that so you can see there's the base between here and here. Okay, so that works out to 4.8, put M for million, minus 2 million. That works out to 2.8 million. So our final workings will be 280 times 2.8 million. Divide that by 2. That equals 784 million divided by 2. So that works out to, final answer, 392 million. Okay, that's the surface area of that initial triangle. And then we have this final answer here of 392 million, the lost, the value of the resources being allocated to inefficient producers to increase production. We could have reallocated those resources to some other producer instead. Okay, so we've calculated the surface area of triangle A. Let's now do triangle B. Here we have welfare loss of triangle B. All right here. Has this shape. Okay, so we're going to figure out what is the height and what is the base. On some exams, they may not be equal to each other. The triangle areas of A and B may actually not be equal to each other. The slope of the demand and supply curves might vary. It works out that in this video, they're actually equal to each other, but you can't assume that. Go ahead and calculate the surface areas of both triangles just in case. So again, it's A times B divide by 2. So we're going to figure out what is the height of A. The height of A, again, is 480 minus 200. That works out to 280. So we have that. Then we'll figure out the base of B. B is equal to here and here. 17.6 million minus 14.8 million. 17.6 M for million minus 14.8 M for million. That works out to 2.8 million. So coincidentally, in this example, we can see that we have these two triangles that are exactly the same. But let's just go over the workings anyway for practice. So here we have 280 times 2.8 million divided by 2. That works out to 784 million divided by 2. That works out to 392 million. Okay. So here we have these two triangles that are exactly the same. So the total welfare loss would be the sum of these two. We would add up these two. So the welfare loss, let's say I'll put it over here, welfare loss is equal to 392 M for million plus another 392 M for million. And so the combined welfare loss is 784 million as our final answer. Okay, and that's it. So we've tackled question D. That's one way you can calculate that. The IB could also accept, some students might consider that the sum of the welfare loss could include the government tariff revenue, which could be interpreted two different ways. One is that we don't consider it a welfare loss. The government collects that tax revenue and they spend it back into society. But I've seen on exams, IB evaluators accepting that the welfare loss could be calculated as A plus B plus the tariff revenue, which is another trapezium area. So in the next and final video, we'll calculate the government revenue plus the two welfare losses as a trapezium for practice using that formula. And that's it. If you have any questions, don't forget to comment those questions below, and don't forget to subscribe and like, and thank you so much.